Barbie.
Yeah, what's going on, buddy?
Can you help me with this?
Help you with
I've
what?
been struggling. This is with my jar of capers.
Why do you have a jar of capers?
I'm trying. Well, because I only eat things out of jars now.
You know we're recording now, right?
We're not. We're
recording now.
Oh well, that's fine. I mean, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm on a diet.
He's trying a thing.
I'm trying to trying to get in shape, a different shape. Okay. And I've been eating. I mean, last time we were together, I had what I have. Donna, I had olives. I had olives. A week before that, I was eating pickles. But I've been going from bigger jars down to smaller jars because I eat a whole jar full, and that's what I eat each day. I eat a jar of something.
Okay.
But
they're gradually smaller.
Well, it's smaller.
Who told you about this diet?
Nothing. It came to me in a dream.
I believe that. Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, Joseph Smith, he got a dream and then he created the NBA.
Okay, how's that been working out for you?
Well, I'm doing pretty well. I'm not having those horrific sweats that turn my skin green no more.
That's true.
It's true. I mean, it was staining everything.
There are changes.
I'd like to say you look
I've
healthier,
gained some weight. I've gained some weight.
Why have you gained weight?
little.
I had an eating disorder. I had Bobby dysmorphia buzz.
This is an eating disorder right here. This jar
There's
thing.
no eating disorder. No, it's more organized and orderly than anything I've ever done in my life.
That's a tiny jar of capers.
I just can't fit my finger in it. It's too dark. It's too tight.
Okay.
And I could spill it on here, but I see you got all this expensive equipment.
I tell you what, buddy, if you start drinking that, I'm leaving. So I'm not going to watch you drink
It's
capers.
just brine.
It's like a
Just
fucked up
like
boba
vinegar.
tea. Absolutely not.
Bobby, you never been to the ocean where there's salt water? It's the same thing.
Okay, can we start the episode?
Yeah, after you can help. Can you open this?
Yeah. I'll
My
open
jar
it.
of capers?
If you can focus, I'll open it after we do our intro. Okay?
my God.
Can you focus?
Compromise.
Jesus.
Compromise.
You know, I feel like sometimes I almost feel like I'm 12 years a slave here.
Nope.
Because all I want to do is just what my free will asks me to do, but there's always some kind of condition.
You're like a toddler. I'm asking you to just wait 2 minutes. Let's get through the intro.
God, fine, okay.
I'll open your
JonBenet today. There, we're done.
Nope, that's not
That's
it.
not
Whatever.
how we do it.
What are we talking about?
Let's open up a different kind of jar here. All right? John Andrew Ramsey. We talked about this last week.
Remember?
Oh, thematically relevant. His initials spelled jar.
Yeah.
We're opening
That's
up.
his sign off online too.
Is it his sign off?
Yeah, jar. All caps.
You think that'd be more
Seriously?
clever.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I mean, he
Teddy.
grew up in Colorado. You know
It's
what
like,
I
how
mean?
do you know the online post is him? Well, it says jar at the bottom.
Jeez.
So thank you for that. But yeah, hey, we're doing jar. We're gonna go open up that jar for you. The jar.
Face
And then I'll
down,
open
ass
the
up.
Capers jar.
Spread your
right.
cheeks.
Yeah.
We're opening them up. We're gonna feel the warm, tight, vice-like grip of the caper bottle around his sphincter.
Nope.
It's a small jar. It could
He
fit
can fit
there.
it.
It could fit there.
It's okay. How tall is he? Like 5'10"?
We're just musing. I'm sorry.
He's taller than that.
He's probably got. I mean, you know,
6'3" maybe?
a
6'2"?
male colon goes really deep.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get it started then.
Okay.
Guys, get excited. We got a great episode here. We're gonna be digging in a jar. So I'm Bobby Pavlovsky.
I'm Daddy Ronald Reagan. There's Mac here.
And this is
JonBenet today. Another week in paradise. How's everybody doing?
You said it, Teddy.
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Don't you live with Donna?
Yeah, but we don't talk much.
That's probably
We're like roommates.
I tell her, save it for the podcast.
You're burning all our good stuff, Donna.
She's like, oh, we really got to talk about this electric bill, this sewer bill. I'm like, Donna, I'm trying to conserve my instrument. My voice is my instrument, Bobby.
Save it for the podcast.
Save it for the podcast.
We know your voice is an instrument.
You're 2 months behind on rent. Save it for the podcast.
I mean, you know, it's also, I'm like, my name's not on the lease. And so it's just something. Did you
Right,
snap
I
at
don't
me?
want to get kicked out.
I'm snapping at my dog.
Oh, hey, dogs. Oh, my God.
Penis away.
Look at that
Put
red
your penises
rocket.
away.
Oh, he's humping it. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. It's fucking bedlam. Sodom and Deborah. I can't stand it.
Right?
It's crazy.
Oh, my God.
It must be the full moon. People are going crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
You know what? It is, Teddy. You're
Saddam
right.
and Deborah just doing like
They
a
just
drag
won't
show.
leave each other's penises alone.
That was the first drag show in the Middle East. Yeah. They only, I don't know, insert funny joke here. It's a complicated joke. It's a socio-political kind of joke. I mean, it's going to be another 200 years before gay people could be openly gay in the Middle East. That was my studies at Stanford.
Big step back.
Stanford plumbing.
Well, that's wonderful. Before we get into the jar of it all,
So we're talking about John Andrew Ramsey this episode, right?
Yep, JonBenet's half brother.
Okay. Who's older than her?
Who's older than her?
He was a grown man.
He was a grown man, which I guess that'll lead into my first segment I want to do is my corrections department's coming back.
Oh, God. That was scary. I forgot about that sound.
So over the last couple of episodes, that anytime he's came up, John Andrew Ramsey, at the time of age of what he was, I've mentioned that he was 22. He was not 22. He was 20.
He was 20 years old.
20 years old.
All right.
Okay, so that changes some things because last few episodes, last times we talked about him, we were like,
only changes things for your theory of if he got it for college graduation, which is
got the Dr. Seuss book.
But that's for he just as easily could have got it for high school.
He could have got it for high school.
Could be any so I don't think that makes a difference.
It's basically like Schrodinger's Dr. Seuss book, where he could have gotten it from high school. He could have gotten it from he didn't get it from.
But anyway, that's what I'm saying. Mea culpa on me.
We'd like to be accurate.
But, so he was 20, okay? But that will actually play into some other stuff we'll be discussing about, him at that time. The fact that he was 20. So.
Okay. He was 20. He
was underage.
He was underage. Oh, under what age? The age to rent a hotel room?
Rent a car is what
rent a car.
Yeah.
Oh,
but that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
At corrections, Teddy, you got any?
I got. Oh, you know what? Actually, I do. Donna, hand me my Chippendale phone.
Yeah. There you go. Mm-hmm.
What's my fucking password?
Remember, it's a face ID of your left hand.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
What the fuck?
All right, let me just get into
we got it.
I got my Quicken notes.
I didn't even know you could do that, but okay.
Magic.
What's my Quicken password? Oh wait, no, I got it.
Quicken?
Hold on.
Quicken notes?
Booty butt Kathy Griffin is a 34. All right. I got one correction.
Okay.
Well, that took a long time for one correction. I feel really bad. I've been losing sleep over it, to be honest. I've been really feeling bad. We went and saw Twisters the other day. I cried the entire time because I remembered that I made this mistake. Have you seen Twisters, Bobby?
I did.
Okay, we're going to talk about it. Okay. But in last week's episode, I used a metaphor to the original Twister, the one with Helen, and I accidentally mentioned Bill Pullman in the heat of the moment instead of Bill Paxton, who was the actual actor who boned her character.
I'm sorry, Teddy, you do this all the time, though.
What do you mean? I don't talk about Twister all the time.
I'm going to make you go back to the episodes, and if you're going to give this correction,
It
you
was
got to
a
correct.
slip of the tongue.
He's dead, Bobby.
Right.
He's got to then correct.
He's making it right.
He's got to correct then every slip of the tongue he's made.
Uncle Bobby, we got to start somewhere.
The other things, they don't matter. But this one, I felt like my soul was imperiled. I mean, Bobby, if I'm trying to self-improve, right? I'm trying to get.
You want me to call it out now? Because I'll just start doing it if you want.
Steps.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Because you just say things wrong all the time, and I just need to keep
Please.
moving,
Ever since I was visited by that succubus, and she said, "You are on thin ice," and then I slapped her in the face, and she kind of was taken aback because they never fight back. They just start wrapping the around you.
Right, and
but I was like, no, I'm not just gonna immediately be a sex slave. But she said, don't fuck this up. And I'm like, I'm on thin ice. I'm trying to make sure that I'm saying the right actors' names. And Bill Paxton, he was the main character outside of Helen.
Yeah.
And
Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt. Oh my God. Okay. All right.
First,
I'm glad you got
I'm
that.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Brand new Teddy, folks.
So that's my correction. Bill Paxton, not Bill Pullman. Bill Pullman, he was who was he?
He was the president of Independence Day.
Oh yeah.
He was in Independence Day.
An important figure.
The father of Lewis Pullman, who I think he's on. No, that's Jack Quaid. That's the boys.
Oh, Lou Pearlman, the manager of NSYNC.
No, that's Lou Pearlman.
Oh.
Wait, but Pullman
Lewis
and
Pullman
Paxton are both dead, right?
No.
Bill
Bill
Pullman
Pullman
ain't
is
no
very
dead.
much alive.
Oh man.
Well, this is entertaining.
It's been great. So that's it for corrections. Let's move on to fan mail.
Ooh, fan mail.
So much mail.
Oh, I love fan mail. We haven't done fan mail in a while, but you see, we're getting more fans, and with more fans comes male fans and female fans, and mostly male fans write to us, right?
No, we get male and female.
We love a good fanning, no
Our
matter where
demo
it
is
comes from.
pretty split.
Oh, okay,
on the
good.
Podcast demo and on YouTube. So.
Oh wow! So we are actually really good at communicating to the masses. We're what you call mainstream, primetime ready.
I don't think we would be mainstream anything.
I'm ready for mainstream.
Content ready. Yeah.
I'm ready. You know, I'm not going to take no offense. I mean, I can handle criticisms. I can handle compliments. I mean, you know, and we're probably getting only compliments, right? We'll go ahead and we'll some famous.
Yeah, sure.
Tell me, Bobby. Where are we starting?
Well, we're going to start. This one was back on our Patsy Ramsey theory episode, part 3.
Oh, yeah, part 3. That was a good one.
This was episode 13.
Wow.
Mr. David Williams, 4498, commented, ask former Boulder Detective Thomas about the Patsy theory. He was sued and lost. He thought Patsy did it. Book money royalties with 0 facts to back it up. Amazes me the many who don't know this. Just feed off the tabloid talk.
What does he mean, Bobby?
Well, he's basically sticking up for the Ramseys, who are basically like, oh, well, if Patsy did it, you know, ask Steve Thomas about it, because he wrote a thing about it and he was sued and he's saying he lost. But these are all situations in where it was settled out of court. We don't know what the actual terms
no
are.
one admitted who was right or wrong.
It's the same
we'll
as the CBS. Same as the CBS documentary where it's like they were sued for $750 million.
They settled out
of court. We have no idea.
So no one knows.
So you mean to say that David is talking out of his stupid fucking ass?
No, I mean...
He said he lost. That's demonstrably fact. That's false.
Again, this is how it's been portrayed, where it's like, oh, because, he was sued, and we don't know what happened, it must mean that, they could have settled for a fucking $1.
I see.
Kind of thing.
So he went out of his way to write that, and it's more so because he's been misled and he doesn't critically think. Got it.
Well, and also the other thing that we need to point out here too, though, is why he was sued, though. Okay.
Okay.
I also agree with this because this is how I responded to him too. Steve Thomas wrote his book too emotionally and with a large publisher that had insurance. Okay. Which is why he was sued. By contrast, James Kohler, who wrote the Perfect Murder, Perfect Town book, he self-published it. And that was the thing. They didn't touch him
because there was no money.
Exactly.
Right, and an insurance company obviously going to go after.
Well, because they'll settle.
Right.
That's why. It's a thing of if you got a big insurance company, it's a thing of go after them. And then we'll settle.
I mean, that's obvious,
I remember the
right?
Ramseys was talking about something like the JonBenet Foundation or something.
That's gonna come back. I have that coming up. That'll be coming back on what the money did and that kind of stuff.
Wow. So what an interesting comment, and thank you for that comment. Even though and hopefully you see it as a learning opportunity, you jackass.
No,
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. That's how I talk to my fans.
I like any of the feedback we get. It's engaging in the discussion because then it allows us a chance to correct it.
You're right, Bobby. I'm sorry.
Language is dirty. So,
I didn't mean it impersonal. I just didn't. Okay. Let's do the next one.
So, in our Cotton Star episode, Kelly Jackman, one of her comments on the post for promoting it was, "Oh my God, 2 of my favorites in one place."
Oh, Kelly. Wait, what does she mean? Not me?
Well, no, she didn't know you actually weren't there when she said that. So she just means JonBenet today and Cotton Star.
Oh, okay, that's fantastic. What else did she say?
Well, we'll go into other ones with her first.
Okay, well, I thought that's all you had to say for that one. I mean, she talks to us. She's one of our best fans.
Yeah, there's other ones.
Okay, all right.
So also on that Cotton Star episode, I'll play the little clip here where Cotton Star mentioned that he asked John, the first question was, did you write the "Now is the time for all good men to come together"?
James Kohler's book, he details on how during that time when he was asked for handwriting exemplars, that he walked over to the green XOXO table and handed over Patsy's pad to the police. And then he got another pad from a nearby area and he wrote, "Now is the time for all good men" on it. And that was a detail that I was interested in, that not many people know that. But so when I asked him that question. I said, did you write that on the notepad? Now is the time for all good men before you hand it over to police. And he said, no, I didn't do that. And then he said, I think it was something like a lot of things been spinned as a fact, but I didn't do that or something like that.
Oh,
As
yeah.
a handwriting sample.
Oh, yeah.
Kelly commented, "Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. My dad made me type that 1,000 times practicing my typing skills. He said that it had every letter in the alphabet, but I never found a B. Needless to say, I've been a hairstylist since 1981, but I'll never forget that phrase. Still no B."
And there's no Z either.
That's true. Oh.
Well, that's okay because, for generations, we had to deal with people with exposure to lead and asbestos and things.
Yeah, that paint.
It wasn't until like 1989 that they invented a 26 letter. No, man. No, that's okay, but that's cool. So it's one of those phrases where maybe John learned that because he might be of a similar generation as Kelly Jackson. And that might be something, instead of like the brown fox jumped over the foxy brown or something, it's like, the generation coming on your other men, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's important to note, too, in that Codstar episode, he then points out that John basically deflects and was like, oh, that's just something that was put out in the media, but that wasn't actually true. And it's because John misunderstood the question. But it's so interesting to note that John's natural response to something is to immediately just dismiss it as like, that was something they started to say, but no, that was just a myth. Like, wow.
Yeah, that's the default, unless it's something that
I just asked what you wanted for breakfast, sir. Like,
right.
Oh, 2 eggs over easy, please.
Interesting.
Oh, man. The Casey Shug commented, oh, shit, that video game montage is hilarious. I think he's referring to you getting exposed on YouTube.
Yeah.
Touchy subject. I'm glad you enjoy the watching.
Watching Titans fall.
I mean, you're still growing past it.
I mean, I am more than my in a multimedia, social media contributions. Okay, I'm a human being. I've got pores. I've got pimples. I've got skin.
So much more than words. So much more than words.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's okay. That's fine. That's fine. Let's keep moving before I get mad.
That's wonderful. All right, Kelly Jacquin, also on the Cotton Star episode, goes, great episode 30. I look forward to 30 more. Love Cotton Star. He's a brilliant investigator. Nick Vanderleek from True Crime Rocket Science referred him to me. I've been hooked ever since. These men go above and beyond to find out the truth behind this still unsolved crime. A lot like you. Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Can't wait to see your magic tricks next week.
Oh, she's so sweet.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a really good, interesting conversation you had with Constar. I'd love to hear more conversations with other investigators of thing. We should honestly form like an Avengers super team.
I want to talk to. I want an Intruder Did It person on here. There's a couple people on Reddit that I've reached out to, but nobody's responded in that these are hardcore. But they seem like smart people on the case, and that's why I really want to talk to them. That's a discussion that I want to listen to.
Absolutely.
That discourse, and not just a bunch of people agreeing.
At the end of the day, so this is like, I think I want to make this real quick point. Like there is right now we are actively investigating and on the pursuit of truth and the hunt of the person responsible for the death of JonBenet Ramsey, and we are doing it amazingly. But there will come a point in time when all of the episodes, where however many there are, whatever the developments we make and whatever comes about, the whole thing, the compendium, the saga of JonBenet today will be complete. And there will still be people, maybe even aliens out in space, listening to radio signals or whatever, who will be listening to all of this as its own self-contained, completed, finite thing, even if it may be 1,000,000 hours. But in that whole expanse of this whole investigation being recorded and cemented as something that can be referenced forever because it's audio, because it's binaries, zeros and ones and things like that, that even just the active listening, and us being so thorough that we check every corner, under every bed, that people will come to understand, like, oh, maybe this is the case, or maybe this isn't the case, or this definitely isn't the case. Like, we don't necessarily need to find the intruder to have a body of work that then supports an intruder theory if everything comes out that way, and vice versa, where someone may be listening to 60 hours or something of our whole investigation years from now, and they could be like, you know what, after listening to that, I know for a fact, for my own reasons, like there's no intruder. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even if we don't find out who actually did it. But I'm not saying that because we will find out. You know what I mean?
Yes, Teddy.
Yeah. But that's wonderful. Are there better comments?
Sure. E4 is hero on the JonBenet birthday special we did. It was an honor to play JonBenet Jeopardy with the host of the show. And great job on the song, Teddy. That was remarkable, man.
Oh, E4.
E4.
Marry me now.
Oh, my God. What a dog.
I hope you got herpes too, E4, because I don't want to give it to you. I love him.
Yeah. Donna, did you ever reach out to him?
We're talking.
You're talking to E4?
I mean, I'm just like leaving the mystery. You never know. Whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Life is full of mysteries.
Maybe you could have brought that up to me one of the times when I told you to stop talking to me.
John Wood, 9349, commented on the JonBenet birthday special, is Teddy the love child of Roseanne Barr and Jerry Lewis?
Oh, my.
I don't know what that means. But apparently...
I think we know what.
I don't love child.
Okay. All right.
You don't. You don't love children.
I'm not a children lover.
So, on our last episode, we got Casey Shook. This is the best JonBenet podcast, bar none.
Thank you.
User VE one lot of letters goes, you go 100. Thank you for sharing this with us. Creepy chills. Poor kid, R.I.P. Angel.
Right?
Christian Nusser goes to say, one of your best episodes. The problem with Looseman's theory is that it's not an intruder theory. The problem is that it's a specific intruder theory that is not only inconsistent, but so far-fetched that its probability is almost zero. From all possible intruder theories, he chose the one that makes no sense, and the Ramsey apologists are still running with it anyway.
Christian Nessa.
Well put.
I like that he's so articulate with where he stays. You know what I mean?
And he goes on to mention that the room that we discussed in the last episode, which was John Andrew Ramsey's, which we're going to talk about again, he goes on to say the room could be important because clothes and deception about clothes play a significant role in this case.
Oh, interesting. I love that people put their thinking caps on when they're really paying attention to
That's
our
right,
podcast.
Teddy. And we helped inspire that.
Yeah.
Good job.
Candy M1592 wrote, I can't wait until next week. They also wrote, you guys are great.
When did they write that? I mean, that could have been months ago.
That's 3 days ago.
They're waiting for this episode. Thank you, Candy Yam.
Oh. Candied yams?
What's their names?
Huh?
Candy Yams. Are those
Candy
the-
M.
Candy M.
Oh, I like,
yam.
I like candied yams.
I
but
would
candy
love
yam
some
is
candy
good.
yams, though.
Candied yams sound so good.
Change your name to Candy Yams.
We got a
and-
more recent
Now
one on John Mark Carr Theory, Part 2 episode.
Okay.
Agent Proof Me wrote, this would be a good listen if you got rid of the guy who thinks he's funny.
Oh, are they talking about you, Bobby?
They probably are.
Oh. You don't talk about my friend that way.
Uncle
Hey,
Bobby
I don't
is
think I'm funny. I know I'm funny.
He is
Yeah,
funny.
he's hilarious.
I'm not going anywhere. And if I left, then it's just what? Two people talking about papers?
Oh my god!
I mean, you know,
like our
olive-
antics, like
Which
you don't
I still
even know.
can't. I mean,
So fuck you, buddy.
yeah, fuck you. Don't ever listen to this ever again. Or maybe you should. And I don't know. I don't
Maybe
give a fuck
learn
about
something.
you.
I don't know.
Wait a minute.
Wait, was he talking about me?
Repeat it again. Read it again, Bobby.
This would be a good listen if you got rid of the guy who thinks he's funny.
Is he talking about Donna? Donna is not a high-pitched male, okay?
guy?
And she's not funny neither.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I take offense, okay?
Either way, you're wrong, buddy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And,
Fuck you.
And as you can tell, this has been a hilarious start to this episode.
And honestly, I don't really try to say funny stuff. I'm just telling facts.
I know.
So
This
I don't know
actually-
what you're finding funny about the case.
What do you find funny about the tragic death of a little girl and a commentary on the state of a society that allows for the lack of justice in a child's murder or a homicide or whatever?
Beat it, you fucking pervert.
You fucking freak. You know what? Homeland Security, right over there. Follow that IP address, please.
Right. Yeah. I haven't blocked anybody
Is there
on
a
here
tip
before, but
line?
I might.
Okay.
That one just got me a little heated.
But I also hope he enjoys the rest of it. I mean, I like people having different opinions, though. You know
yeah,
what
actually,
I mean?
Right,
I do.
and thank
you know?
you.
I'm actually not that
Yeah.
upset.
Keep commenting.
I was just gassy.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's all these jarred food.
A little.
So I think that's good for fan mail right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ones.
I give it like a 6 out of 10, Bobby, honestly. Yeah.
You know, when you get over and over again, this is the best podcast ever. It's just like, it gets repetitive.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
You know,
You can't just keep
yeah.
repeating that.
I'm going
Right.
to put a call to action to our fans. Just start taking some of the leads that we give you and start doing some research. It's like a million monkeys with a typewriter. Typing like,
Join the Patreon.
join the Patreon too.
Easy to communicate with us on there too. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
like we get it. We get your comments. We appreciate it. I mean,
But let's be productive.
let's be productive.
I don't know.
I want to unlock the genius inside all of you. All right.
Oh wait, actually no, I forgot. I got to do one more because this is really good.
A good one.
This is a great one from E4 is here.
Okay. Shut up, Donna.
Great listen. The thing about Dorothy Allison is good promotional for her, but she never claimed James Randi's prize, LOL. Be curious to know who at the foundation said that about his or her relationship to Dorothy. That's in reference to the Heather Dawn Church stuff.
Oh,
But-
the psychic.
Yeah, but he goes on to say, this show could easily have thousands of followers. I see some channels that cover similar topics that have 100K subscribers, and their content isn't even engaging or novel enough to make me listen to the whole thing, let alone listening multiple times like this show. Consider supporting the show by sharing it with your social groups and posting it around. help these guys get the exposure they deserve.
Hey, love it.
Yeah, we need someone who's competent to market our stuff because it's not about us. It's about JonBenet. And we're just one of the most effective podcasts of actually examining everything about this case, okay?
Right, we're not taking a convenient angle.
Yeah. When you listen to us and you don't tell people about it, you're being selfish. And her
I actually kind of get it, though. You know, it's the thing. It's like your own little private thing, but...
I mean, yeah, but you know, at the end of the day, then you're gonna have your own private life with an unmarked grave, and you're gonna be like, wow, I wish I was sharing the spoils and riches of the life of discovery that Elton John's gay piano and African American Lion King song, Circles of Life, which is a shape. Mm-hmm. It's a shape of life, and you can't make a circle without bringing people together.
That's true.
It's true.
That's true.
Right.
I mean, one person cannot be a circle. Okay.
Why haven't they done like a Disney festival, by the way, like a music festival, but it's like, like a When We Were Young fest, but for like, it's like we got Vanessa Williams for Colors of the Wind and Elton John.
Yeah.
We got Randy
Why are they not doing
Snowman and
Billy Crystal.
fucking Powerline, Goofy movie. Stand
Powerline.
Down. I go to this festival.
I want to go to that.
I would go to this concert. Just do it as like a standalone one night.
It's money on the fucking table. Angela Lansbury Steaks. They never did that. They never did nothing with her while she was alive.
Well, that's
What a
because
waste.
Lansbury is not the same word as Salisbury.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Well, that's it for fan mail. So
Great.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Fan mail.
So much mail.
Mystery within a mystery, don't you think?
What do you mean?
Like John Andrews. He's like kind of this mysteries about him.
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna explore. If you weren't around with us when we did episode 7, which was our recap and mystery suspect episode, we did a brief glossing over of Mr. John Andrew Ramsey.
We kind of touched on him.
But we're gonna go even further, and we're gonna bring back that stuff up if you missed it. So
That's wise, Bobby.
Yep, let's roll through it.
Let's roll. Well, geez,
Shut the fuck up, Donna.
You're welcome.
Episode 7 was her first episode, and that's when everything started falling apart.
Was
the
it?
wheels started falling off the
That's
fucking
BS,
train. She's a
Teddy.
fucking distraction.
I make
a
you
disgrace.
better. You stop.
She's a disease.
I bring good things out of you. Moving on.
You smell like hair.
Yeah, you don't want to know what you smell like, okay?
All right, I'm trying to listen to the episode. Let's talk about it so I can hear it.
All right. Where we last talked about John Andrew Ramsey is that we were officially blocked by him on Reddit.
He blocked us on Reddit.
He blocked us on Reddit. This was back when we were doing episode 18 about John. And we brought it up because it was, again, out of nowhere. We've never engaged him on Reddit.
When he preemptively blocked, I don't want to hear what they're saying.
When you
that's
block somebody, you got to
stupid.
know that they exist.
And Rogers Powers, who we've had as a guest
Right.
on before, he detailed to us how he got blocked on Twitter for basically asking an innocuous question about basically, why don't you ask your dad about something.
Oh yeah, I remember him saying that. So
I guess it's not that innocuous, and I could see him blocking him, but still.
Well, I mean, there's that thing.
Well,
He's pretty blocked.
You're asking questions. Why are you getting so upset about it?
Exactly.
And this is all I hear from the Ramsey family, especially when I recall things that John Andrew Ramsey said in the past, is how important the truth is, and questions are asked in order to get to the truth, and the truth does not have an owner. The truth does not come just from one vessel, one person. It's actually the cumulative efforts of uncovering and identification of a lot of things to expose them into the light of day.
Yep.
And Rogers Powers asking a question, it may be even a question that comes from maybe suspicion or maybe a distrust or whatever, but you can also then make someone like Rogers trust you or have respect for you or change their mind by answering the question. But instead, he blocked him.
Right,
And
you
he
could've
blocked
built-
us, but we didn't even talk to him.
We didn't even know though. But for us, again, preemptively on Reddit.
Man.
And I don't know if it's maybe just because he's either seen the podcast where we've talked about him and just wanted to block us, or it's because he's seen posts on the Reddit, which means he would have been going in the JonBenet Ramsey subreddit, which is our JonBenet Ramsey, which is the one that's basically Ramsey did it.
Ramsey did it, which means he's keeping eyes. He's like a silent observer of what people say about
And
his...
they have about I think it's 75,000 followers.
75,000?
But John Andrew very much just lurks in the R JonBenet subreddit, which is his the intruder did it people, and that one is that's 19,000 members.
So that's not nearly as many. It's
Not
so there's
by a long shot.
So there's an JonBenet Ramsey.
That's the
and then
subreddit is
there's
called
JonBenet.
Yeah, if we're confusing people, Reddit, they label their little forums where if you have a different interest in other activities, there's a community for it, and it's started with r/tennis or whatever. This is r/JonBenet Ramsey. Has all of the Ramsey did it.
That's why it says Ramsey, because it's Ramsey did it. Just think of it that way.
I didn't even think of it. That's
think of
good.
it that way.
Yeah, that's a good.
And then the other one's just JonBenet, and that's the one that John Andrew Ramsey actually.
That has less letters in the name and less people.
Less people. There you go.
There you go.
Aren't they just like hashtags? Like,
God damn it.
You're so fucking dumb.
Never
I was
mind.
on Reddit for a time before I got banned.
Yeah, I can see that.
I started a subreddit, Are Animals Killing Themselves? It was fine. We had a good time.
Well, okay.
mixed bag, I'm sure.
So,
Sorry.
John Andrew Ramsey blocked us on Reddit. Okay.
Yeah.
We've noticed it's pretty block heavy. I've seen many other instances on the Reddit of people saying that he
does
blocked
that.
them or he blocked me for asking this question or whatever.
Establishing a pattern of behavior.
But and I even mentioned on our podcast though, it was funny that he had blocked us because again, his account's public. So it's like if he wants to block me, all it does is make it so I couldn't contact him and we can't see his posts.
Oh.
But if you just log out, you can still see his posts.
Oh.
So I don't know if maybe he recognized the futility of,
Maybe.
the efforts, or maybe he's actually scared.
or there is the possibility where I did make the mistake of engaging people on the JonBenet subreddit a couple weeks ago. And I don't know if it's maybe just
He couldn't see what you were saying.
Exactly, but he's seeing people, and maybe it's like I need to see what this is. I could see that being the case too.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh no, they're unblocked.
So if you want to get to him, I guess it's go to that one.
And 19,000 people in a subreddit is not a lot for the record.
It's not.
It's
versus
not very
the
many.
75,000.
Yeah.
The other words, it's like there you go, right there.
Yeah.
That should show you. So John Andrew. His initial post on that subreddit was the whole, "Hi folks, long time listener, first time caller. I have a favor to ask. I'm looking for active Twitter followers. My profile, J Ramsey Truth. Why Twitter? Because politicians are active on Twitter and we need politicians to be brave and to stand up for the truth. Without them, we will be hard pressed to find JB's killer. I appreciate your hard work. Good hunting, John Andrew." That was 4 years ago.
4 years
okay.
ago,
I'm
which was
like-
the year 2020, right?
Year 2020.
At least, he called it Twitter. I'm like, it's X now. Like, at least
wasn't
fucking
X
get
back
it
then.
right.
I'm sorry, that's what you got?
But okay.
Donna, you
like,
slow
whatever.
us down.
You don't
Keep
even
going,
like
Bobby.
Elon Musk.
Moving
What difference does it make?
on.
All she does is think about him. She wants to hate fuck him.
So I just wanted to bring it because I thought it was interesting. Going into this episode, I was like, I knew that he had blocked us, but then going back and
He
opening it
unblocked
up, and when
us.
I opened it up, I was like, oh.
He must
John
have been
Andrew.
listening to us and was like, "Oh wait, I want them to have some more information on me. Let me go ahead and give him more resources again." Okay.
Now let's go to where John Andrew Ramsey was. Let's go to the night of, let's go to the murder scene, okay?
Let's go back to Boulder, Colorado.
Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. December 25th of 1996. This is
Christmas Day. But we're not in Boulder, though.
Oh,
We're across the country, over in Atlanta.
on the other side of the Mississippi River.
We're going to explore what his supposed timeline was. John Andrew Ramsey's.
His alibi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Supposedly, again, he left college December 19th.
December 19th.
He was at the University of Boulder. And again, so he's had a dorm at the University of Boulder, 4 blocks away at the Ramsey's house. He also has a room up there.
Okay.
They sometimes try to diminish it and say it's the guest bedroom. Very rarely do they actually be like, yeah, it's John Andrews.
I mean, for the love of God, they barely ever really mention him. You know what I mean? Ever.
But that was, by all accounts, his room. And every once in a while, he would have, there was a girl that would supposedly stay there, according to Patsy. And one of John Andrews' other friends, a male.
Oh, okay.
And it's not necessarily, it seemed like a situation where it was cool, like, even if John Andrew wasn't there. If
Like,
this
if he's
dude
like,
or
my friend
chick-
is drunk and he's just going to sleep here, like that.
That's a good
or-
point, actually. I didn't even consider it in the way of like, oh, hey, he's really drunk. He needs to sleep here.
Right.
Because then that opens it up to the night of Christmas where it's like,
Was someone
was one
here?
of John Andrews' drunk ass friends there?
Right.
That's a whole other can
Whole
of worms.
other can of
open.
worms.
Jesus.
I mean, this is a
no.
house that always had wine at the tap ready. They drink, and they also, they like to have a lot. They're social. They have parties.
Patsy like to.
Patsy
It's
like
interesting
to.
that you say that though. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's a lot of instances of mentioning John drinking?
Well, he and Brent, they were drinking that.
That's true.
That time in Hawaii.
Good point. That's right.
Yeah,
Like
for 3 days straight, they were drinking for Christmas time on the anniversary in
He seems like a
2009.
cocktail man. Like he likes the fruity ones. John Ramsey.
John Ramsey.
John Ramsey seems like he likes like the.
He might.
I don't know.
I see him as like a brandy kind of man, or Scotch.
No, it's embarrassing shit. It's
Or
stupid.
A
Stupid,
gin,
dumb
and
stuff.
tonic with
A
a
hypnotic.
twist.
No, don't give him something cool. It's
definitely
not cool,
does
guys.
not.
With a
drink.
twist, isn't it?
It's a colorful drink that
not-
he asks for in a lowball glass.
An amaretto sour.
Shut up. So there is so much that we don't yet know, but we do know that John Andrew Ramsey had a dorm room about 4 blocks away, and then at college, but also had a room in this big old fucking house, and also that he's glossed over, but then also that he had a couple friends of the 2 different sexes who would sometimes be there even when he wasn't there.
And not together. It's just Patsy.
Oh.
Not those people that like they were a couple. It's like Patsy was relaying to detectives 2 instances of other people that would possibly stay in that room when John Andrew wasn't there. That
It's
were
the
friends with him.
90s.
Like who else's DNA you might find in that, or
No.
like just these
No.
people like slept there sometimes.
Yeah, people
Okay.
that would sleep there sometimes.
Okay.
What
You really
we-
make me hate this experience.
That like you were throwing daggers.
Well,
with
Donna,
your
I mean,
eyes.
Jesus Christ, I feel so bad for our listeners because we have covered 2 topics over the course of 40 minutes already. Because you keep asking stupid shit and bringing up Elon Musk's dick, and I just stop
I
talking.
didn't bring up
just
his
stop talking.
dick.
All right.
Every time
Shut
I
up!
say something,
Oh
Teddy.
my God, guys.
She feels like a compulsion to talk just because her family used to slap in the mouth anytime she had an opinion. I can't stand it.
You
I'm
should
not your
stop-
therapist.
Stop relaying stuff to him that he can then use against you.
I know. I just can't win.
You should stop seeing the therapist and go
Right.
see the rapist. You know what I'm saying?
The rapist.
I'm just saying.
Go see the
Thanks,
rapist.
Teddy.
What do you mean?
I'm
I
just
appreciate
subliminally suggesting things that will just could ruin her life.
Okay, so
Very good.
what we've always talked about is that on the day of JonBenet's murder, when they found her body, okay, basically as the Ramseys were being told, like, now we got to leave the house, they were getting ready to go over to the Fernies.
Yeah.
Them and the detectives are walking out of the house. Taxi cab shows up. John Andrew, Melinda, and her then fiance. Melinda is the sister.
Melinda Gates. No.
And it's a perfect scene. We're like, oh, they're just arriving. They took a plane supposedly from Atlanta to Boulder, Colorado.
Okay.
And
Direct
they
flight.
arrived just in time for all the cops and everything to see them, like, oh, we just got here, kind of thing.
They came around the block, and it's like right after the body's already been discovered. So when JonBenet's body was discovered around 1 someone bringing him, then that place changed from being almost just like the base of operations for trying to negotiate potentially with kidnappers on
The ransom,
on a
yeah.
kidnapping thing to this is an active crime scene. This is Stu Macha's house at the end of Scream when we're doing the crane shot with Gail Weathers in front of the house and the sun's
Sure.
rising in the morning and there's all these emergency vehicles everywhere, lights are flashing. This is when it's like, oh, there's a whole hubbub. They call it a hubbub. Everything's all around there,
Right.
and people are outside.
Right.
They can't go back in there because they can't contaminate the contaminant. Okay.
And we know also this time that they found the body at that exact same time over at the Boulder Police Department. The head people on the case were meeting with the FBI at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And they had just discovered too that basically there was a similarity between the ransom note and Patsy's pad.
Oh,
that
that's
was, That was
right.
handed over.
That
to
was
them.
the same
That it was
paper.
basically written on that pad.
Right.
And once they started putting that all together, that's right around the same exact time that John decides it's like, oh, we're gonna go search the basement, finds the body, okay? Because again, they were gonna start getting a warrant for the house once they found out that it was like,
They're like, no, we don't want that.
and it's like, was somebody on the inside or something like that?
Right. Well, and also
Because I have a clip too of John basically where he's discussing the whole lawyer thing.
Advise them that they should get, someone to represent them.
He said, John, would you allow me to do some things that I think are necessary to do here? I said, absolutely. And the next day he introduces us to our attorneys. We're like, attorneys? What do we need attorneys for? He said, John, I got a call from inside the system. And they said, get this message to John. Tell him to get the best defense attorney he can get his hands on. They think he killed his daughter.
Mike Bynum, the guy who donated $500 to the Lou Smith
Who's
granddaughter's
still a friend
GoFundMe.
of John Ramsey's and lives out in Moab, Utah with him and Pasta J
Oh yeah, Pasta J with that restaurant.
that they both funded.
Wow.
So very curious, and it's like, oh, did they maybe get intel that possibly you need to
They've got a
You need to find the body before the FBI is fully involved in this, because once it turns into you finding a body, it leaves the FBI's jurisdiction.
Right.
This is no longer a ransom, it's a murder.
Right.
So this changes things, this whole timing.
Yeah.
So it's very curious, though, that shortly after 1 p.m., after they've found this body and everything like that, the Ramseys are leaving the house. John, Andrew, and Melinda, who, again, changed flights. They were going to originally be meeting the Ramsey family in Minneapolis, where they would all fly together to Charlottesville, Michigan.
In Minnesota.
Yeah. But they've rerouted their plans throughout
They
the
went
day.
to a party.
Despite the fact that also we know that John was seen on the phone trying to arrange a flight, back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
With his private pilot.
Because that's also
So
the
it's
weird
like,
part
why
about the
would you
case.
even, yeah.
Like the whole morning, or like there's phone records that were completely destroyed, or potentially, or can never be found.
They're just missing.
They're missing.
John's cell phone records.
convenient.
John's cell phone records from that time period, and so we don't know who or if or why he was in any kind of communications from his 1990s Ameritech probably cell phone. Remember those big cell phones with the orange letters? But also at the same time, the flight from Georgia to Denver, how long is that going to take? That's going to take a long time.
That'd be about a 5-hour flight on the private plane.
Private flight.
Correct.
Was it
I don't
arranged by
know.
John Ramsey?
What do you mean? The one of them coming over
A
there?
private flight? Yeah.
The one of them coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly. Well, that's the thing. There's been confusion on whether or not it was a commercial or private. They've said that they took a commercial flight.
Okay.
There's an interview where John says they came in from Denver, which doesn't make any sense. And then in Linda Arndt's official report that she originally did, she had him talking on the phone and basically arranging for his private pilot to get them to come in. So it's that's another one of those things that's a little confusing in the case of
Maybe it was
how they did. But either way, they got there
Uh-huh.
at just the right time.
Right.
Like afterwards. Like
While everybody was in the front
conveniently.
yard, while everybody could
Like,
see them.
We just got here.
we're so
wow,
flustered.
I'm jet lagged.
So that's why this kind of thing is very interesting to see pop up in early 1997.
This followed one of the more revealing weeks in the case. District Attorney Alex Hunter said Thursday that they are still questioning the alibi of John Ramsey's son, John Andrew.
We have more work to do on John Andrew's alibi.
The family has said he was in Atlanta at the time of the murder. Police are still checking.
At the time of the murder.
At the time of the murder.
So the family said that, but Alex Hunter at that point, when was that, Bobby? That he gave that press conference?
I would have said that would have probably been in January or February-ish, maybe.
Okay.
Because they, again, and it could have been any time basically before they had talked to the Ramseys.
Gotcha. Okay. And they were like, we got more work to do, because they didn't necessarily just buy hook, line, and sinker that he had just come from Atlanta. They probably needed to see some corroborating evidence to that alibi.
We need a paper trail. How are we going to do that?
We need proof.
Right.
Again, our last episode with Lou Smith, we played the little clip where Lou explains why he's not a suspect.
Found in his suitcase is a sham and a duvet, and they're made out of certain material. And a Dr. Seuss book is found in there also. Now that suitcase does belong to John Ramsey's son, John Andrew Jr., the one that was in Atlanta. And they said, well, maybe he tried to kidnap him, but they got him definitely in Atlanta that night at an ATM machine with his picture withdrawing something, and there's no way he could have moved. But it is his suitcase, and it had been in another room in that house.
Yeah, and so we know it's not him.
When we've all seen that, right?
No, nobody's seen it. Well, people have seen
Wait.
it, but it's basically been described as grainy ATM footage. He's wearing a baseball cap kind of thing.
Oh.
So-
So how can you be sure it's him?
Exactly. But for me, it's more interesting that was Lou Smith's. He immediately goes there. And this whole family of things where he seems to be taking a lot of things they say on truth. Why is it not just John Andrew was with his mom?
Yeah.
His mom said that. Why is he immediately the first line of defense is, well, we know he wasn't in Boulder because he was seen on an ATM footage. And it's like, that's because he knows he expressed doubt at some point too of the whole where it's like, I can't just take your word on this one, son, because there's a cum blanket with basically that had the fibers of her
on her dead body and her body, even her body bag. And actually, real quick, let me just also, this is what coming to mind for me. Lynn Wood is based in Atlanta. So Lin Wood is the one who was arranging the media appearances for Lou Smith in the first place. Maybe he's almost arranging for Lou Smith's incorporation in the fold of all of this. And maybe Lin Wood knows, hey, I'll get my son's kid or whatever the fuck, or some, you know what I mean? Put him on this hat on him, and then, have this
John
photo.
was desperately trying to get back to his lawyers in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You know that because that private flight he was trying to arrange where they're like, hey, you can't leave. Like, he wanted to get back there because it's like, safe, get home to home turf.
Well,
You got to get back there officially. So it's like, oh, good, I'm with you guys now.
Yeah. Well, and
But
also,
is there a record of the transaction? Like, it could have just been like a kid like putting a card in and pulling it out.
So his official account is that on Christmas Day, that afternoon, he met with supposedly his mother for opening presents and things like that.
Okay.
Are you okay? You need a lozenge?
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to eat these capers, but I'm drinking the brine, and it's.
All right, so Christmas Day, he opened the presents supposedly with his mother in the afternoon, okay? There was some sort of dinner or something like that, and then he went and saw a movie.
A movie,
which the ticket stub for that was later produced.
Okay.
It seems to be like a thing where after, and then it slowly built up to where he ended up having, I think it was about 7 different people basically give an alibi for him. It didn't start that way, but it was initially a thing where...
Okay.
Because again, we even saw from that footage where they're looking into it. So it's like they knew that they had to amp it up a little bit.
It's almost like it became its own operation, maybe. Of like, we got to have enough stuff in order for this to then be, to satisfy the curiosity of the district attorney or someone. You know what I mean?
And the Ramseys ended up basically making the stipulation with the police that basically they weren't going to talk to them until they officially cleared John Andrew and Melinda, as a thing where basically, so you don't even talk to them, you don't interview them. It's a thing of like, this is a no-go, stay away from this.
That might explain the lack of cooperation from them.
Well, that's part of the lack of cooperation, but it also is a thing of we don't want these people who are supposedly giving the alibi witness to contradict themselves, or basically like if he interviews the mom separately or the daughter separately, kind of thing, like, oh, John Andrews said you guys were this, like what did you get for a gift, or some kind of things like that. So what happened was Boulder police traveled to Georgia on February 13th of 1997 with the express purpose of clearing John Andrew and Melinda Ramsey. They even took a city spokesperson with them and prepared to make an announcement.
Oh, wow.
This is according to the Daily Camera, which has done a lot of, that's out of Boulder, that's done on some, we've referenced them.
The Daily Caper?
Daily Camera.
In Georgia.
But yeah, when the no, it's in Boulder. When the detectives and spokesperson arrived in Georgia, they learned that John Ramsey had hired Atlanta attorney James Jenkins to represent Melinda and John Andrew, as well as the children's mother, Lucinda Johnson. Jenkins would not allow the Ramsey children or their mother to speak with the officers.
Wow. So he
felt obligated enough to hire an attorney for them.
So
when
they
they initially didn't want them to be
anything.
questioned at all, and once they found out, like, oh, they're gonna be questioned,
they're
the
making
lawyer was like, no.
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
For both of them, and it's like, did Melinda need to be in there? But no, it's because she's the supposed witness of arriving with John Andrew.
Yeah.
And then these web sleuth people have made a pretty good connection online where it's like they took the time, this is like archive shit from like 2009 and stuff like that, where they took the time to figure out like the timeline of if he could have made it. Like as a thing of like, could have still been, possible type thing. And they kind of worked out that he could have, especially like even more so, and no question, if he lied about the movie.
He could have made it back to Georgia if he had never seen the movie when he said he saw the movie. But that immediately starts ringing bells in my cathedral's head, where I'm like, wait a minute, like, why would he ever lie about going to a movie then? Or when he went, if you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, why would he ever lie about that anyway? Because that apparently is supposed to happen the day before. So, you know.
And somebody else, again, on that wonderful web sleuths forum, pointed out too that it reminded him of the movie Sleepers, which is like a Jason Patrick, Kevin Bacon movie. Basically, these kids got molested by a priest when they were younger. They grow older and decide to murder that priest. And they start to get charged or whatever, but they get exonerated basically because Robert De Niro, this priest, claims that they were all at the Celtics game with him and produces these ticket stubs to show that for them to help them lie. That movie came out October 13th, 1996. So that was still also another fresh in theaters movie.
That was, you know, probably a big domestic crowd pleaser.
But it's So
Robert De Niro, fresh off his hit Cape Fear from the year before.
Stop it with capers. I see where you're going with this.
I'm not afraid of no
Just
capes.
a little connection.
Well, this is like a caper. You know, a caper can be like a movie. It can also be like an illegal act. And it could be like something that, you know, almost like an Ocean's 15 or something like that, where it's just like, oh,
They're
wait.
normally fun adventures, though, not.
I mean, this would be more fun if we had a better third co-host, because Jesus God. But the
Great,
point
thanks,
being is just that it seems like there was almost kind of like a Muppet Take Manhattan sort of effort for all these people, all these moving parts and these people across different states or whatever, to produce all the things that could then reinforce and kind of satisfy any sort of curiosity or skepticism and about John Andrew Ramsey's location and whereabouts on the day and the night time and the soon afters of this death of his younger half sister. When those pieces, when we actually start to put them in together and provide them, like where it's like, okay, movie ticket and an ATM like fucking screenshot where a person's wearing a hat. A white 20-year-old is wearing a hat in Atlanta and went to an ATM
In
and
the 90s.
I'm supposed to believe, oh, that's John Andrew Ramsey.
No.
But it's like also where there's like the movie ticket apparently the time of the movie doesn't necessarily correspond. Like how does that not correspond? How does that fuck up the timeline for the flights? Because that's what I'm curious about.
It's more of, did he have enough time to be in Boulder to kill JonBenet and then fly back to Atlanta that night just to fly back again the next morning? He wouldn't have had enough time to do that, especially considering they're saying that he flew back to Atlanta and then if he would have been there and saw a movie, there's not enough time. I don't honestly necessarily actually believe it, but I think it's enough that it's very suspicious that they even had to basically look into it in the first place and go through these great lengths to try to clear him. And it's a thing where we're still never answered the important question of the whole semen blanket.
It's a way
and
to
the fibers
avoid
being
it.
on it. And they knew that though. And it's like, so
Right.
why try so hard to get ahead of this for him? Like, you know.
Yeah, where the parents aren't even going to talk to the police, where they could provide helpful information potentially, because you never know what the information if let's say your kid's been kidnapped and you want the authorities, you know, who's you know, you pay your taxes, you're paying their salary, they're there to serve you. You want them to find the person, the criminal, and maybe there's just a weird thing where you could be mentioning like, oh, I drove past, you know, that gas station and there was a man with 3 fingers on his hand and he waved at me and he looked like he had evil in his eyes. And me as a detective on a police post, I could be like, I know that 3-hand man, and I know that he has a history of wanting to kill little girls. You know what I mean? You never know what could be information that could be helpful, but they completely shut off the spigot. They disconnected the water line so that they turned off the faucet where you couldn't have anything. And they made it an important condition that you couldn't talk to John Andrew Ramsey. Like Melinda, that's one thing. I could almost see where they made it also a thing for Melinda and the mother, one to so no holes could be poked because maybe those guys aren't ready for primetime, for example, when it comes to interrogations. But then also for John Andrew Ramsey, like he has a bedroom in that house. He goes to school in Colorado, 4 blocks away, as we learned from Bobby last week. That campus is 4 blocks away.
Right. I still don't know why he was in Georgia. Like, why?
Well, he went back because he's got his mom's there too.
That's it? Was his mom was there? Like,
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, he might not have that, and like,
he's 20. Do you
But
think
that's
he's
the
gonna
thing
go
is-
visit? Like, I just don't. It's
then,
convenient.
So that's the thing, though. Is think about the family dynamic, though, too. Here, where now we're introducing Melinda into it, and it's a thing of I don't think if it was a thing. Obviously, nobody in this family would have copped to a murder or whatever. I don't even think if the family dynamic that they talked about it, if they even really actually know who did it or anything. But it's a thing of Melinda's now knowing, but you have to live with this knowledge of what did they tell you? Like, that's what I want to know. Yeah. What did they tell you to get you to be like, hey, he was? Or maybe, he was with you. But it's enough of a doubt that it's like, John Andrew Ramsey, not cleared.
No, he's not cleared at all.
No.
And frankly, I'm almost of the mind where it could easily have been where he went and hid in his dorm on his college campus, which was probably empty because it was fucking Christmas break, the day after Christmas.
Right.
And then Melinda could have flown from Georgia or from Minneapolis and then taken a taxi and picked her up.
Oh my God.
Picked him up.
Hold on. Maybe this is why there's the different confusions of things. Maybe it's Melinda's told John Andrew came in from Denver.
Oh.
That's why John says in his interview with Lou Smith that they came in from Denver. But in all the other ones, all the other accounts, it's they came in from Minneapolis. And so what if it's God? And now it's imagining a scenario if John actually just didn't know. He's playing his fucking dad and like, yeah, I'm coming in from Denver. Like, don't even worry about it. I'll get my flight, Dad. Like, don't worry about the private plane. Or John's just, accidentally slipping up and mentioning that they came from different airports. I didn't think about this until now, but he could have, again, went and hid out, and then they tell Melinda, like, yeah, your brother, he was at something, so he's coming in from Denver. He meets her at, an airport or something weird.
Right.
Gets in the cab with him, and it's,
And then it's just like, oh, we've been together.
So Melinda and I think it's Stuart, the fiance, you guys know something was off there. You got to live with this weird thing.
Normal families going through a dead, an instance where one of the kids gets killed, don't shut out the cops. And especially if you're even on the on the bench when you're like, John's first wife in another state. Why, Melinda Gates or what the fuck her last name is, Melinda and John Andrew Ramsey apparently because he's supposed to be in another state. Why don't you ever say anything? Not any. And honestly, there's a preponderance of suspicion I have because the blankets in that suitcase that had his semen DNA on them are the fibers that were on her body, and along with another shirt of hers, right? Was in the suitcase?
No, not a shirt.
What was it all in there? It was the book?
It was a book, it was a duvet, and it was a sham.
A sham.
Basically like another blanket.
Another blanket.
Yeah, a little blanket.
Like a pillowcase.
But they all had fibers of her clothes on it, and the duvet had the cum on it.
The cum on
the
it.
sham, or whatever.
Right, so you lay that down, you do the dirty, you roll it up, you put it in the little suitcase, and then you act like nothing happened.
Think of it like this.
Yeah, any pedophiles out there, that's how you do it.
Think of it like this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Think of it like this. If there were fibers from the fabric of a back seat of a Camry that were then showing up on the body of a dead little girl in the basement, I'd be like, she probably was in that car at some point in these outfits.
Right.
That's the DNA.
And I would search that shit.
That's the DNA they ignore. And it's a thing of Lou Smith going with like, oh, this is what I'll use to be like, this is the intruder theory because, because it was in the suitcase, that means they tried to put her in the suitcase to take her out. And it's like, okay, or just as easily, they could have, put the shit on it. Either way, the shit shouldn't be together.
They could have just been trying to hide the shit.
Right.
Why would they, again, if you're gonna actually try to put a body in a fucking suitcase because you're trying to transport it, wouldn't you take everything else out?
Right.
Why would you try to fit her in there with a fucking duvet and a sham?
Exactly.
Makes no sense.
Nonsense.
No sense, Lou.
It's nonsense.
No sense. You take it out because it doesn't seem like she could fit. That's what people thought. Like, oh, it didn't seem like she could fit. Take the fucking blanket out, dipshit.
Yeah.
Unless you knew it had your cum on it.
Yeah. I'm so sick of civil discourse that goes nowhere because I am supposed to just cater to people who don't think things through as much as I have. And I'm not going to get stupider just to be agreeable. He sounds like an idiot ignoring all this shit.
They all
and anybody
ignore.
that just blindly follows these people who are clearly acting like idiots based off of what they're saying or not understanding or choosing to not say, like, then that's your prerogative. But get ready to go through your life being called an idiot.
Yeah, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes, right, to know that this is what we call a clue.
Ugh. And here's him discussing on this stupid 60 Minutes Australia thing, which we'll talk more about.
But more importantly, what was inside of this suitcase, Amelia, were fibers that matched what JonBenet was wearing when her body was found by her dad, which means that at some point, potentially, her body might have been placed inside of that suitcase.
So I got a quick question.
Yeah.
So were they fibers from the blankets found on her body in the body bag, or were they fibers from her outfit on her dead body that were found on the blankets and in the suitcase? Because Lou Smith said that it was stuff that was on her body and in the body bag and on the clothes.
And it has been rubbed on her vagina area. So I think the fibers were found on her too as well.
From the blankets. But he just tried to make it sound like it was the fibers from her clothes that she was wearing when she was dead found in the suitcase.
Oh. And there has been another thing too where we talked about this in the last episode where Lou Smith said that we know the suitcase had been moved.
Oh yeah, he did say that.
So I wanted to get to the bottom of that of like, okay, well, where the fuck was it moved from or whatever kind of thing. John, kind of in very similar fashion to the whole window breaking incident, said sometime that previous summer he had moved the suitcase down to the basement.
From where?
He didn't really explain, probably John Andrews' room, but also why did you move it? Because he explained it as a suitcase that John Andrew would use to bring clothes and stuff back and forth from college. So it was definitely his. But the thing is that he places it down there, okay, back in like August or July or whatever. Okay, the thing is that shirt that JonBenet was wearing that night was the Gap shirt that Patsy had talked about that she had just recently got her.
Oh.
So the timeline isn't a thing where it's like, oh, maybe it touched, earlier, whatever. This was a newer shirt. So it's like some fuckery was definitely happening with the suitcase.
A shirt that was purchased well after that
John
summer.
Supposedly placed it in the basement, yes.
Was inside that suitcase. And can I ask a question? Did John Andrew Ramsey have a car?
I doubt it, because he was taking taxis everywhere and he's got money.
Well,
Private jets and PJs and taxis.
Well,
buddy.
because when he would go back and forth from school.
Well, that's a good point. Thank you, actually. Yes. So, because he was underage too, this is Teddy. This is so perfect. Thank you.
Oh,
he was currently basically facing. He had to do this underage drinking program because he got caught drinking and driving.
Oh my God!
Like a DUI.
So he had a car and he would drunk drive in it.
Not necessarily he had the car, but it doesn't sound like he had his license at that point, which would really make sense of why you would ride a bike away from a murder scene.
Especially when it was only when you had another
Not
place.
just because you don't want neighbors to see cars leaving, but you can't actually.
You can't drive in the car. You don't want to get pulled over. Risk that. And also your college dorm is only about 4 blocks away.
Right.
Interesting.
Very interesting. So he was going through a DUI program, which his sister was killed in by a drunk driver. So that's
way to
sad.
go. Way to go, John.
Sad that he was drinking and could have killed somebody.
Way to go.
But maybe he did kill somebody.
In a different way.
It's a keeper.
So, and that's the thing, though. It's like there's been people that argue, to death that it's like, no, he definitely wasn't there, including, him. And Lou Smith seems to readily accept it. And he's a legendary detective. But these people all keep ignoring this evidence in all these documentaries and Lou Smith. Nobody's talking about the Comtow.
Right.
But there is a universe that exists, possibly, where John Andrew didn't necessarily have to be there to cause her death. There was a report basically in February of 1997, right around the time of that Alex Hunter press conference that made Michael Helgoth supposedly kill himself.
February, and that's when also they tried to go to Georgia to talk to him. The police did.
Right around that time, they got a tip basically from the Star, the tabloid. The tabloids, because they were concerned by some information that they had heard that this man in Michigan was offered $10,000 on either July 4th or Memorial Day of 1996 when the Ramseys were in Lake Charlevoix to murder JonBenet.
What?
By basically, he says that John Andrew Ramsey offered him $10,000 to basically run his powerboat into their smaller boat that JonBenet would be on, and John Andrew Ramsey would jump off.
Just in time.
And
JonBenet would be killed.
He tried to
$10,000.
Get a hit.
Right.
Oh my God.
Well, hit on his sister. That's an outrageous story. I mean, who has $10,000?
But, that's the thing. John Andrew Ramsey has $10,000.
Yeah.
When he was questioned about the actual murder of JonBenet, they asked him basically what he thought of the ransom note and the amount. He goes basically $118,000. He's like, when I first saw that, I was like, I could pay that. Why ask for that?
Chunk change.
And for me, it's either a thing of saying trying to exclude yourself from being considered obviously it wasn't me.
Right.
I didn't do this.
I got that money. I don't need that money.
We know that the ransom note was staged anyway, so this wasn't really about money.
Yeah.
But it could also be a thing where, hey, that kind of shows your belly there as you definitely would have had 10 grand to be able to just pay for.
Yeah, if we're to believe what you said to the cops in that thing.
And he had no reason to basically come forward with this information. They had nothing to gain by coming forward and saying this. But they ended up finding him unreliable based on past cases where there was something where he'd supposedly planted drugs, which I don't even understand how.
The drug dealer,
which I don't even understand how that works.
And so the guy in Michigan, was it in Charlemagne, Michigan?
No. It was Lakewood or something like that.
Okay. But there's a lake and there's boats.
It could suggest that, again, that maybe John Andrew Ramsey knew him because he was his drug dealer, too.
Oh, my God.
That's possible.
Could be possible. But also, it's strange. I would think that someone like John Andrew Ramsey, I mean, he's got to have a bunch of people who come to his defense as character witnesses, right? Did he have any friends or anybody who, would be he would never do this, or he was too busy studying and poking his Asian girlfriend?
According to the websites for him, it was, in fact, quite the opposite, actually.
What do you mean?
There was a lot of people at the campus that seemed to believe that he did it. There were reports that supposedly he had a weird fascination with his 6-year-old stepsister.
What? Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
A weird fascination, like what?
I mean, this is all. There's nothing that actually backed this up, but these were what was going on in web sleuths at the time, where people would talk to people that he went to school with.
Oh,
and this is obviously stuff they would try to bury. But in addition to that, though, there is an interview, part of an interview transcript with Patsy. They ask her about these pictures that they found downstairs.
Pictures.
Some of the possessions, like John Andrew had his suitcase down there and his computer that wasn't set up. It was like a computer and a printer. But they found these pictures that I don't know who else they would fucking belong to. That were basically, when you're reading the transcript of the interview, you get that they're kind of describing that these are some sort of weird poses of pictures where it's taken of JonBenet in the laundry room.
Wait a minute.
So she doesn't know what's happening.
Well, they ask her basically like, "Hey, do you know of any time you would have taken pictures of her in the laundry?" She's in the laundry room. Like, no. Like
a photo shoot, like an editorial sort of photo shoot where JonBenet's
like,
posing.
Well, they even say, like, would you have ever taken, if she was doing something like cutesy, like a picture of her, would you have taken a picture of her like that? She goes, in the laundry room? They're like, yes. And she goes, no, emphatically. So there are some sort of weird pictures of JonBenet where she's posing all cutesy, enough to concern the detectives where they needed to ask about it. We haven't seen these pictures.
Wow.
Weird.
So, but that's the thing that
like they are
suggests
seductive
right,
or something.
and it's like, what, is Burke taking them? No. John? I don't think John would be dumb enough. Again, he's not.
John's hardly home.
He's trying to find some blonde chick to fuck. Patsy, she's so, I genuinely believe her in this instance where she's just genuinely confused of what he's even talking. She hasn't seen him.
In the laundry room.
So who the fuck does that leave? John
Andy Randy.
So just enough doubt to be like,
yeah,
you got the ick, bro.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You give the ick.
So many questions.
I mean, this is not where it's like I'm hearing about how he's like a National Honor Scholar, or how he volunteers and helps kids in Timbuktu search for water or something. Like no, instead it's like, oh yeah, no, people before everything was scrubbed by the apparatus, people that knew him personally were like, well, he did have a weird fascination with his sister, and maybe he could have done this.
Maybe.
And then the police in their press comments, a public press conference, Alex Hunter.
Oh yeah,
Alex Hunter know even
and don't forget. Remember right after the right before even like New Year's or something, there was something when they were like asking him like, what would you say to the killer? What would you want? What was it, Bobby?
It was from the Vanity Fair article that was written early on about the case. This was the quote: at the conclusion of an interview with investigators, they asked him what he thought an appropriate punishment for the person who committed this crime would be. After a long pause, he said forgiveness. Incredulous, the detectives went into the brutality of his half-sister's murder and asked him to reconsider his answer. Another silence ensued. Then he said again, forgiveness.
Oh.
Which is weird. Why would you be forgiving?
Yeah, I mean, your sister is dead. She's dead.
So quick after the murder. And then now he is still, and again, it's moving on to our next section now. So disappointingly, he's going to be taking on the mantle.
For the Ramsey family, her death has meant a lifetime of anguish and suffering that's taken its toll. John Andrew will soon take over from his elderly father in the family's battle for justice. And he vows not to give up until the killer is behind bars.
The facts are that the players in this case are still alive today, right? People with institutional knowledge are still here. Witnesses are still here. And the killer is likely still alive, right? He hasn't aged out, right? So if you look at those facts, the opportunity presents itself that we can, everything's lining up just right, that we can finally find this killer.
But yeah, taking on the mantle. So again, you either were heavily involved.
Oh my God!
And have some questions answered no matter what, or you weren't involved at all and have no business blindly taking on this stupid mantle of defending
or acting like you know what happened.
Exactly, because we have an example too. We pointed out in the original episode we did on him. On Reddit, there was an exchange that he had with a member where somebody was basically they were theorizing basically. They're like, I had heard that John was a part of a golf group in Atlanta called the Fat Cats.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That's in reference to the ransom note, where it was like
you Fat Cats.
Fat Cats, yeah.
And John Andrew immediately jumps into this Reddit thread and goes, bullshit.
With an exclamation point.
Yeah. No, just bullshit.
Oh.
And the person's like, I'm sorry, like, what was bullshit? I thought that was true. Like, I thought I'd read that. And then they back it up with fact. They show the article where it's John's being interviewed, and he very much explains that we did have an Atlanta golf group called the Fat Cats. And it seems that Jar didn't know that. But he doesn't respond to it.
He don't say nothing about it.
He's fine with blocking people, but he's not going to delete a comment that makes him look absolutely fucking stupid.
I mean, the guy doesn't have. He's one of those places where like people, they get promoted to their competency level. In middle management, where he's just smart enough to know that like he's not brilliant, and also like I don't know, like there's something to be said where it's like he's still going to be arrogant though, thinking he knows best until he runs into a wall. But then it doesn't look like he knows how to respond. Well, maybe he probably blocked them, and that's why he never replied.
That's how he responds, by blocking people.
Yeah, I don't want to see your voice anymore.
I'm good.
But also, he was completely wrong, and he could have amended what he thought and be like, "Oh my gosh, I actually didn't know that."
So
if he can,
shaky start, to being a spokesperson for the whole show. Then a few years ago, he did have him and his father appeared on Tamron Hall. You've been excited about finally doing this Tamron Hall thing.
It's about fucking time.
Teddy, how do you feel about Tamron?
Why do you like Tamron Hall so much?
I don't like Tamron Hall.
Oh. Okay.
I want to show everybody why Tamron Hall isn't as good of a girl as that name like that man.
What's the history on her?
She's just a part of this continuing culture of this infotainment that barely masquerades and barely isn't even so good at it of being journalism, and yet is supposed to receive the accolades and the esteem and the admiration and the legitimacies of journalisms, when really it's like nothing more than just like taking a frozen fucking lean cuisine and putting it in a microwave, and they're the ones that warm up the food. You know what I mean?
Right. You're just reading a script. You didn't do the background
Let's
work.
just play some
you don't
clips.
know anything behind the scenes. Like, you're just reading lines off a teleprompter.
Yeah, if he doesn't have knowledge of it, then it's like it's easy to lie about it. But it's even easier to lie about it when you're just blindly trusting your father. But
it's even easier to lie about it in an interview when the interviewer isn't actually going to push you or ask any follow-ups.
Well, I think to give it some credit when we watch this, I think she does kind of make him at least feel uncomfortable, which is kind of funny. But we're gonna let's jump into this. This is from I believe 2019. After Investigation Discovery released this like Lou Smith doc that was kind of like just a bunch of his audio tapes and kind of reignited the whole storm.
All right.
Well, John Ramsey and his son, John Andrew Ramsey, join us now from their homes in Utah and Colorado. Thank you both for joining us today. John, I have to start with you. I was watching CNN this weekend, and they were doing a retrospective of the life of Larry King, and I saw you and Patsy as one of the guests on that show all of those years ago, and I thought to myself, wow, he's talking with me in a couple of days. Why relive this pain? As we pointed out, you and Patsy were cleared after she died. Why relive it now?
Cleared?
Well, control the message.
Right? And she keeps saying that over and over again, where it's like, after you guys were cleared and stuff. But also, I love that she brings up the fact that it's like, I watched this Larry King retrospective, and I saw you guys on there, and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm talking to it, and it's like, that wasn't like an interview really like in a way that like Larry King was really softballing it. Like,
right.
That wasn't like
you can
they were on there as potential suspects in their daughter's murder. It wasn't like Larry King was puff piecing them up like you fucking
Unless this interview was also to almost kind of like counter the fact that there's a negative representation of them being brought up into the.
That's why she's driving home with and
you
guys were cleared.
You guys were cleared.
This is the answer to that question.
Such a source, bitch.
As we pointed out, you and Patsy were cleared after she died. Why relive it now?
Well, when we were cleared, for us, it wasn't a moment of celebration. It was a moment where we felt like, okay, now let's get on with finding the killer of our child.
And when are they even talking about? I mean, when Patsy was alive, when Alex Hunter decided not to press charges against them, even though the grand jury wanted them to?
Yeah.
Because that's not being cleared.
You're talking about with Mary Lacey, with that exoneration letter.
Which also was not anything official and any sort of.
But that fucking line, by the way, it still annoyed me. The let's get on with finding the killer. I went back to the Tubi documentary just so I could pull every instance of him saying it, and it's kind of funny. But this is a line he repeats on so many different shows. Too.
Right.
Patsy and I used to call them pity parties. Let's not have a pity party here. Let's get up off the floor and get moving. Now let's get down to finding the killer. I think Patsy had the same reaction as I did. Is it, okay, now let's get on with finding the killer. And even for me, the exoneration I was appreciative but it wasn't a celebration moment. It was, okay, now let's really get on with finding the killer.
Now you want to worry about what happened to your daughter? Now
he keeps tugging them earlobes. His ear's gonna fall off.
Right, another twitch. Yeah.
What was that, Bobby?
Maybe cooperate with the police really early on in the investigation to get you cleared. Because if you're innocent, you should be fine. And I mean, I know that our justice system's fucked, and maybe that's not the case. But more often than not, if you're innocent and super rich, you're fucking fine. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. There was so much that was banking on like the media attention that like the police department was motivated to try to solve this, but literally they could not even get to interview her own parents because her parents would hide behind lawyers and excuses for months.
Right. So, well, here's John on basically why they also really continue on, not necessarily for justice.
We're just not willing to let it die. It's gotta have a resolution. The resolution isn't for my sake as much as it is for my children and their children. This is a cloud that's going to hang over our family until we find the answer, and that's why it's important to me.
All right. I love that they showed the picture of JonBenet when he said, "My children and their children." He's not fucking talking about him.
Right, you're reminding
He's talking about the living one. No,
Right.
he's talking about the living one. But the Tamron Hall's showing JonBenet like, my children. Like, that's not who he means. He says who I'm doing this for.
I mean, do they even mention Burke in this interview?
No.
Does he ever?
They don't
No.
fucking bring Burke
Never.
up. But
They don't want him talking.
Well, there's a reason they don't want Burke talking, obviously, with the, you know.
But not even bringing him up. Burke was there. He's also a victim in the sense of like what their narrative is. But like they don't, just like how they don't mention that JonBenet's head got cracked, they don't talk about Burke because they don't want people to even think about him.
Right? 60 Minutes Australia, that one thing that we showed the little bit of that we'll show more of, they don't even talk about him. It's basically just John Andrew Ramsey's the brother.
Right.
They did not.
Burke doesn't even really
Like,
get...
what other brother?
But
Like, wow.
and that's, again, going back to this whole thing where everybody's getting sued kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing of John has recognized basically how this media works once you put yourself out there.
Some of the commentary that I saw was just horrid. I mean, just vicious. And of course, we had lots of opportunities to sue the media and did, but it was a much higher bar because we had publicly engaged in the discussion. But it's the way the world works.
Yeah, but
Again, the Ramseys have made a bulk of their money on the lawsuits that ended up just being from Burke. Why? Because he's the one that never wanted to engage it. He hid himself from the private life. So let's go back to this, the Ramseys when John was campaigning back in 2002 on air, and they get a question about the JonBenet Foundation and explain basically where their money has been coming from.
Let's take a call for the Ramseys. Salt Lake City, Utah. Hello.
Hi, Larry. Thanks for having me on. Mr. Ramsey, you talk about giving back to the community. In your book of Death of Innocence, you talk extensively about the JonBenet Ramsey Foundation. That foundation was closed. It virtually did nothing. Yet in your book, it still says the proceeds from the book sales are going to the JonBenet Ramsey Foundation. I'm wondering if you can explain that. And also, could you please tell everybody that in the civil case, the judge was only presented with what Linwood, your civil attorney, showed her, and without benefit of the actual police files. I'll hang up and listen. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay. I'm sorry I didn't hear the second part of that question, but regarding the foundation we set up for JonBenet in her honor, we did the same for our daughter Beth when she died in 1992. It's a compassion that just, I think, flowed out of us. We weren't sure what we were going to do with it, but we wanted to do something to honor her name. With Beth, our plan was to get the family together once a year and make a decision on what we could do with what we had available to give, and make that a family decision. Certainly we set that up with JonBenet. That was our plan as well. We have done some of that, not to the extent that we'd hoped. Frankly, we had hoped that we could recover substantial damages from a lot of the very slanderous and wrong stories that were put out there about us. We did recover some things, but most of those were on behalf of our son Burke. And so we've not yet, I think, done justice to what we had intended in our hearts for that to be.
This week, however, we did present $1,000 worth of scholarships to Mount McSaba Day Camp here in Illinois, Michigan, where we live, where JonBenet and Burke both attended day camp. JonBenet was the Camper of the Year one summer. And we were very happy that the foundation was able to provide some scholarship monies for campers this year.
$1,000.
Cool story, bro.
Why was that relevant at all? I just wanted to be like, but we are charitable. Both of our losses, because she knew how bad all of that shit sounded, which is crazy for Patsy to be cognizant enough there.
She looked so numb.
Well, this is 2002 now, and now she's actually doing drugs during the interviews. But she recognized there how bad it sounded. It was like, but the bulk of the money has come from Burke. And again, that's why he's basically hinting at why that foundation went fucking nowhere.
Because they weren't able to make as much.
Where'd the money go? Because that's where the proceeds of the Death of Innocence book were all supposed to go and stuff like that, which is the JonBenet Ramsey Foundation. But again, what they ended up doing was suing a bunch of people, and we never got. If people want to be like, oh, they brought a $750 million lawsuit against CBS and they lost, and it's like, you're framing it wrong. You don't know what anybody got.
Oh yeah,
like
you don't know the settlement.
They settled it, so that's the whole point.
Right, it's closed. Like you can't see if they close it, or if it's sealed, rather.
But again, that's why we're not really seeing Burke. Burke's appearance on the Dr. Phil thing, I guess, was more in a response to what they knew was going to be happening with the one thing. Still a weird misstep that I don't understand fully of whose decision it was to be like, yeah, your camera ready, and why. Like, it didn't. If anything, it just casted more doubt, and maybe that's the point.
I mean, I think maybe
they knew how weird it would look.
I think they wanted to give it a try, and maybe he
More
would,
money.
blow them away.
Oh, I bet it was a lot.
Yeah, that was probably it. Though.
Probably
maybe
it.
Offered
Probably
enough where it's like, okay, Burke, we're gonna dust you off.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, my PR person who did not help me win a political campaign or the doubt of millions of Americans.
This is the thing. No matter what they do, I mean, they're definitely gonna go for the effort. Just like when someone runs for office, they don't run for office hoping to lose, unless you're of a certain type of politician where you know that you're gonna make a bunch of money from political action committees these days. And that's a different kind of thing, because that was in the early 2000s. That wasn't the same kind of situation. But these people, they literally believe that they're going to succeed at what they're doing. But the tragedy of the Ramsey family is that they will never actually be successful. They'll just get close enough to maybe where it's like arguable. But like John Ramsey, I'm sorry, did not win that even the primary for the Michigan Republican Party to be. I mean, for a fucking state like House representative, it's not even that big of a role. And then, but
I don't
also,
think it was that. I think it was something lower than that. But
well, I mean,
still,
like
it was
council or some shit.
It should show. But
the point being is that like
him knowing that he could have political aspirations speaks to the fact of how good he is at rehearsed canned answers to basic questions. He was right off the bat with that whole, well, we did the same thing with Melinda, where it's like, oh, if people are going to bring up the JonBenet Ramsey Foundation, make sure you bring up that we made a foundation for your daughter, too. It doesn't look as bad.
Yeah, I mean, imagine you're on some high of like, wow, for years I kept getting interviewed and grilled about the what happened, the mysterious events of my daughter's, death. And right now, I'm like Ashley Judd and Double Jeopardy, where I can't fucking get arrested for it. Like, I'm so good, I could probably just be a politician because that's how good I am with working the media and
I
stuff.
want to run in the place where my vacation home is.
You
live in fucking Georgia.
And talk
I
about
live in Utah. Like, again, I think it was a zoning issue. I think he had an issue with the contractor. He wanted to like go in there and be like, no.
Makes sense.
Oh yeah, fences can only be this high? Well, fuck you.
Yeah.
Well, so back to Tamron Hall, okay? When she finally switches it over to Jar.
Yeah.
He doesn't clearly have a lot to do there, but I think it's interesting her phrasing that she uses.
And this show is about, an hour of people who are taking the stand, no matter the consequences, no matter what they're facing. John Andrew, you're JonBenet's half-brother. You were 20 years old, away at college when she was murdered, and you were one of the first family members to be cleared by investigators. But even then, this suspicion, as your father pointed out, hovered over the heads of your family to the point where here you are all these years later, you're still taking on, the police, the media, folks out in the public who still believe that your family had something to do with it, that you're still having to take this stand, despite, by all accounts, overwhelming evidence that clears your family.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point you're making. What's the motivation for my father and I to be doing this 24 years on? Without question, our lives would be easier if we could just turn the corner and walk away, or if we had confidence in the Boulder Police to investigate this crime. But here we are. My father's been speaking out for 24 years. I'm happy to help him in that cause because Ultimately, we think that this is a case that can be solved and should be solved for JonBenet family and for the community at large.
Jeez, he's not good at that.
For the community at large, it's interesting because I don't think he got the note. The family is no longer still pushing like, hey, Boulder, like hide your kids kind of thing. Like,
Right.
really,
Like someone's out there. Like, no,
we're
it's
not
me.
still
Just kidding.
doing that
Whatever.
narrative. Also, by the way, I don't know if anybody knows. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if this is just a troll or it could just be a stock photo. The framed picture that he has behind him is just of a bicycle leaning against a wall.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
It's not even a real bike.
Cotton Star.
I'll bring it up. Yeah.
Cotton Star, get over here.
I tried to enhance it to like look at it better, but yeah,
That's fucking weird.
It's just a fucking bike.
What in the Dexter?
I think it's more just stock shit. But those books back there, it's like the.
But also, like, what is this house where you have a photo of a bicycle? You know.
Well, again, supposedly he lives in Denver.
I mean, honestly, I got a few thoughts. First, Tamron Hall. I hear where you said where it's like, oh wow, that really kind of maybe could be like a dig with some of the stuff she was saying.
No, I reheard it and I didn't.
But like, yeah, and at the end for her to say that the overwhelming evidence, like honestly,
and not ask a question at all.
No.
I loved how flustered he was. Where it's like.
He's like surprised.
Oh, me.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't do it.
That's a really great point.
That was so easy. I expected worse.
And it's like, and also, I mean, quite honestly, like, there's just never been a moment where we have found the actual person who did this, or that person's been arrested and
or we've seen something so similar where they've left behind that DNA that could maybe be like, oh, this is that unknown one we've been looking for.
Oh, the handwriting is of the letter is the same as Patsy's handwriting. Like we've already us being amateur sleuths. And so many other people have been able to establish that. Tamron Hall, how dare you? When you have these people on your show, you know what a journalist is supposed to do? Ask the hard-hitting questions. Whatever pretense you have to get them on there, get them on there. But then go ahead and show them the things. Have a fucking have a conference room in your fucking office where people are actually doing the research and shit and then supplying it to you if you don't have the time.
Don't just read your assistant's notes.
Well,
that's what it seems like.
Well, then look at the next one. Look at the next one that she lobs at him.
All right.
Which again, it seems like I guess I don't know what to give to him, but it's a thing of just look at the evidence that she gives him and then how he tries to recover. What do you think?
And John Andrew, they were convinced, police were convinced that Patsy had hit JonBenet, accidentally taken her life and covered up her murder and staged all of this. Detective Smith said the DNA found on JonBenet proved otherwise. I want to play a clip of what he theorized happened there.
This foreign DNA does not belong to Patsy, for sure. Now, it is male. They cannot say who it is. So that does not completely eliminate John Ramsey. However, it does not include him at all either.
So, John Andrew, what did he ultimately, Detective Schmidt, believe happened that night? What is his theory?
That lips back.
So I like that clip and then just kind of like throwing it to him, but also being like that clip not necessarily have anything to do with
right.
But here's his answer to this.
Happened that night. What is his theory?
Well, yeah, that audio diary is, of course, beginning in the mid '90s, but the intruder theory is kind of based on the fact that someone entered our home, lied in wait, used a stun gun on JonBenet, and carried her to the basement where she was killed. The note could have been written before or after. We don't know, but that note is deeply meaningful to the killer. It's filled with fantasies, delusional fantasies and thoughts, direct quotes from a lot of different movies. And based on research now, we know that these guys, people that do this, are driven by fantasy of one form or the other. It's clear in that note who this person is.
Sweet
if
summer
it's so
child.
clear, then why isn't it solved?
You sweet summer child. But
He's
also
the-
with the
Oh
old
my God.
theories again, though, too.
Yeah.
And the fucking
he said it like 12, 13 times.
He's like should have counted the uhs too.
I did.
I know. I saw you counting.
He's horrible as a
Right.
spokesperson, and also you could tell that he clearly wasn't expecting that clip to be played because that DNA they're talking about, which he did not want to divulge anymore. How quickly he pivoted from anything about that her question to there was an intruder theory.
But the
blah, blah, blah.
using that. No, we know he used a stun gun, which is something he also repeated in the 60 Minutes thing.
The stun gun to me would not identify the killer, right? It would help in your defense, right? But it wouldn't identify the killer. We know a stun gun was used, right? The pictures indicate that. When she went to bed that night, those marks were not there. When she was found the next day, those burn marks were there. It's clear as day.
We know.
Is it?
Well, you know that.
Is it clear as
Seems
day?
like a
And
lot of
also,
information.
how do you know that they weren't there when she went to bed? What are
Right,
talking
you
about?
weren't in
How
that
do you know
state.
she was killed in the basement? You don't know that.
And
but
I
you
don't want
said
the
it
news-
like easy breezy.
But I don't want the new spokesperson also to be like going out, being that person that's doing that whole fucking we know shit. That's not fucking true.
No.
Like, we know this is a sadistic part. Like, no, fuck you. Like, we know that whenever you say we know, that's when you know that they're going to be lying about something. Or wanting you to believe
100%.
something because it fucks with their version of events if you know something different. And it's fucking annoying, and that's not even what, like, the stun gun we've already talked about ad nauseum. I can't even, I don't even want to talk about it.
No.
Because it's not fucking true.
The manufacturers of the fucking stun gun said themselves, like, this is not what it looks like when someone is, like, a stun gun, our stun gun is used
And
on.
John's not saying that shit anymore. So I think it's like an interesting, like, they're doing a tryout thing, like, hey, if you're gonna be the spokesperson, let's see if you can, without any pushback, throw this old shit back out there, like they've been doing, where re-bringing up Gary Olive, re-bringing up John Marcotte, re-bringing up these old theories that we know
ransom letter.
aren't true. That whole 60 Minutes thing was about the case of a girl that was similar, that the Boulder police had already looked into years and years ago and already cleared, but they branded that as new evidence, and it fucking wasn't new evidence.
None of it was. And it's just lies. And also, he's not even persuasive or convincing enough for me to even, like, believe that, like, he can get away with this for, like, very long. Honestly, like, the more he's in front of the camera, the more people are gonna see that he's just like,
Someone's gonna ask you about a cum towel?
Yeah, he's kind of like JD Vance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, listen, dude, I see what you want to be, and I see even maybe what the responsibilities of the sins of your family maybe require of you. But guess what? Your father, with his personality persona, was able to kind of, just kind of make it work for about 25, 30 years or whatever. But you're gonna, if the more that people see you, the more people I think are gonna understand that you're not telling the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and maybe unknowingly so. But you're an idiot for trying to even do that. And if this is driven by money or actually trying to clear your family, then like you need to step back and think like, maybe they actually did do it. Do I want to devote my life to this? Unless there's some sort of financial gain in it.
Right.
Which is even fucking worse.
Or unless you have something to do with it.
Nobody wants to read John Andrews' book years down the line of what it was like to be the stepbrother of a murdered little girl and carrying on the mantle. But
let alone, he's trying to curry favor with politicians and shit. So, and his father had political aspirations.
Because they want to get it to the FBI or to the state, basically. Where there's been murmurs that supposedly John has friends within the FBI now. Or something like that. That's possibly why they would want it released to the state. But we know basically they've been trying to, again, get it pushed to go to Othram. This lab specifically that they've been promoting ever since their partnership with CrimeCon in 2022. They started the change petition. It's bullshit. But let's go back to Tamron. We're almost done with this this interview here.
Hey, John Andrew, the question then still remains. You have all this DNA evidence. Some of it's not even tested. Who do you believe killed JonBenet?
That's a good question. All I know is we've got the killer's DNA. We need to leverage that evidence. We need to bring in the very best forensic scientists and DNA experts in the country and apply new techniques and new technology and to identify exactly who this person is.
Why hasn't that been done? Why hasn't that been done?
I don't know. I simply wish it would, right? That would certainly make me sleep better at night. I think it'd be good for the community of Boulder, for the police to do the right thing here. And we hope they do. That's, by coming on the show today, that's, one step that we can, put some pressure on them to do the right thing.
Yeah, thanks.
Wow.
And
police aren't going to go out and talk about the theories with Tamron Hall, like just saying. Like,
well, and also there's the thing
come
is
on.
they've maintained, even when this year's CrimeCon when John was pushing the shit of, I don't know what's going on, like what's going on and stuff. And it's like the interim chief is like, I've been talking to him. I don't know why he's saying this stuff if they don't know what's going on. But it's obviously, yeah, they're not going to spend all this time constantly going out trying to battle the Ramseys again. It's like, God, how long do we have to keep fucking doing this with? But they know that they're not going to push back on this fucking bullshit. But that's why we're here to help, expose some of that. But also there was some half-truths possibly spoken there where he's saying like, we know we have the killer's DNA. It's like, maybe it's that Comtow, buddy. Like, but he's shady enough. He gives you the ick enough that it's like, you got a lot of other questions that, again, if you're going to be this spokesperson for the family, then you're going to have to answer. Or
exactly.
You're just going to come off as this dumb, blind spokesperson like Lou Smith. I'm sorry, Lou, you're not dumb, but I mean in the way of like, you're just short-sighted and you're like, I'm going to blindly defend this family for the rest of my life. And it's like, to what end? You can see John there's giving up in that Tamron interview.
Oh, yeah.
He's just sitting in front of his fucking computer where, even in the outro here, it's really funny. There's some lady that just like comes in the background.
Cared about other people, and she was so vilified in the media that that's just not right, and I'd love to set that straight somehow.
Well, you're doing that now by taking a stand with this new documentary, and we appreciate you joining us today. John and John Andrew, thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you for having us on.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny. There's some big titty blonde lady coming in the back.
You know his type.
It's time for your. Oh, I'm sorry.
She looked a little thicker than his actual wife
Right.
at the time too, so I don't know what's going on there. Maybe we caught it affair live on.
She's got some skills, I'm sure.
He wants some Krispy Kreme.
But Jai, you're not very charismatic.
No.
Don't necessarily. We've been publicly wrong on Reddit. Like it's when somebody proves, like they asked you for basically a response where it's like, hey, I thought I read it wrong. They showed backup to show like, no, I was right. And you didn't fucking respond.
No, you want to be the presumptive, like to take over the mantle of all this. You got to be even better and more sophisticated and even more capable of being able to turn and twist things into something that's in your favor. You can't just do the whole like DNA blah blah blah. But we know there's an intruder. No, you got to take something and even make them understand that there may be a moment of like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Thank you so much, blah, 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 blah. And like, because maybe that will gain you more sympathy from the public to show that like, when you do receive new information, you do actually change your mind about stuff. But instead what you did was you attacked them because you saw that Fat Cats is on that letter and you don't want, and that's too close for comfort. And then I
don't think he knew. I don't think it was intentional. I think it shows just how much he doesn't know about the case.
But that's the thing. It's like it's a very specific phrase too. You know what I mean?
Right.
And maybe he didn't know, but if him even hearing that like something that's referenced like in like Fat Cats, that's almost like me going like if there was a Dilbert reference, and then if someone was saying, oh, but wasn't your dad in the Dilbert fan club? Like I'd be like, he was never loved Dilbert, you fucking bitch. But then it'd be like, oh wait, here's an article, and it'd be like, oh, I guess he did cut out some comic strips or whatever. Like it's one of those things where he's like he's doing this thing where he's both ignorant and also is anti revelations. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Sure. It's showing that the family again. They don't know enough about each other, and he's blindly following what his father said. This is the internet's been the research on the JonBenet case has been on this internet for such a long fucking time. This is right around the time of the birth of the internet. So for him to not even take the time to be like, hey, before I publicly respond to this. Be so fucking confident to be like bullshit, not realizing that somebody back it up. It's a revelation about your own family that you didn't even know, which is a thing of, hey, buddy, what else don't you fucking know?
Yeah, it says so much about his character too. He's a rude prick, and how many people give up after they receive that kind of response from somebody? Like it says something great about that person that they actually took that as an opportunity to double check what they were claiming, whereas other people they may have gone like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, you know what I mean? Because he's that fucking yacht club motherfucking asshole kind of prick.
Silver spoon, like never gets in trouble, like is just used to that.
And I've theorized before about his relationship with Burke, where you don't see them together at all post it. And I've always thought it was a thing of like, he, doesn't like Burke, as in like, it's a thing of like maybe Burke did it kind of thing. Cause it's a thing where there was a Reddit comment that I've posted before where he's basically like, and Burke is conducting his own investigation, like like LOL kind of thing. But what if it's the flip side?
Right.
What if it's not wanting to be around the one kid who also knows you were there for some reason? Where it's a thing of, this kid had to go his whole life lying about you. He might not know the exact reason of why, but he might have his suspicions, and that's just too hard to be around.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just didn't like John's other kids from the get-go.
Not to mention that Burke's name was all in the tabloids and everything, but not John Andrew Ramsey.
You don't ever find me a picture of them together. You won't find it. I'm saying post JonBenet's murder. Yeah. You won't. Not the funerals, not the anything.
Like
even
that
the
distance
weddings
was planned, like to make it so that they're that far away from there's no evidence
but on
for
who's
a reason.
but that's what I'm saying. Like,
right.
So I originally thought it was like maybe it was a thing where Burke did it. That's why he's going to do it. But I think it's very possible. It could also be a thing of he knows it's a thing of Burke knows he was involved or something.
Burke might something. Maybe Burke
it's a
saw him
fractured
going down
family.
the stairs. Maybe it was like, it could be as simple as like, oh, I saw him. I didn't know what was happening.
Avoid that awkward conversation.
I mean, Burke could know anything and everything, or even just barely anything. But if Burke is the one catching all the arrows from the criticism of the world and tabloids and journalism, I say with quotations. And yet John Andrew gets to just be like a ghost. Like how many people until maybe even this podcast, maybe even just whenever, even knew that she had an older half brother that lived in the same house. Most people don't know that to this day.
Well, and I think what they want the narrative.
Burke was there because the narrative was made.
Well, I think what they want the narrative to be going forward is that they don't want you to know about Burke now, and now it's going to be. The whole thing is John Andrew. That's why he's been introduced, because he's the only, after that Dr. Phil shit, it's like, well, he's not gonna be the spokesperson.
Oh, true. I mean, it's a weird thing where it's like, I almost feel more suspicious about John Andrew Ramsey and I don't necessarily know why. I gotta process it. Maybe we'll do a part 2 sometime in the future. After kind of getting more of a glimpse of some of these things we've talked about, especially today. A little bit about his temperament, a little bit about like the events of February 1997, the fact that what he says in his attempts to be the new spokesperson, where the things just don't. Even the verbiage, it could be the same shit that we've heard a million times from all these same people who are part of the same fucking Linwood sort of, Ghislaine Maxwell lawyer sort of operation. Whenever they're in front of the cameras, they say the same kind of shit. Even John St. Augustine's fucking lawyer, that lady with the crazy eyes, how she was just like, we know. She said that kind of shit too. I mean, it's like having a bad lawyer where it's like, listen, I don't think a jury would believe what my lawyer's saying.
And they don't. Look at the subreddit. Look at the subreddit count.
Right.
75,000 versus the 19. But you keep hanging out there, John Andrew.
You're less a Cape Crusader and more of a Caper Crusader.
Yeah, sit in that echo chamber.
Yeah.
And,
Go ahead. I mean, honestly, John Andrew Ramsey, if you chose not to ever talk about the case ever again, I don't think anybody's ever going to clear your name. And if you keep doing it, that might even be worse.
I want you to.
This
is basically like the news with Trump. They want him around kind of thing. And that's why I would also like to right now extend an open invitation. I'd love to have a conversation with John Andrew Ramsey.
Oh,
so we're gonna reach out to him. And,
we will.
We want you to have the chance to clear up all this misinformation. And
I think we've got important questions that deserve to be answered by the people that are they're connected to. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think these questions necessarily indicate a final decision on anyone's innocence or guilt or whatever or capacity. But if you want to be a spokesperson, you need to be able to handle the heat of answering these questions. And people like Tamron Halls and people that just like kind of just go off of Wikipedia and be like, oh, the family was cleared. Like, no,
60 Minutes Australia.
They're never going to ask those questions.
Right.
But surprise me and come on to our podcast. We're going to ask questions. We're not going to do any sort of mollycoddling, and just tell us the truth. And on the other side of that, you'll have my greatest respect,
I'll give you a final cut too, just for the live version, not for the Patreon. So you can subscribe to our Patreon and see what he wanted to cut out.
Yeah.
But John Andrew, we'd love to have you on, and we're still not done with you yet because again, we're hitting the 2-hour mark now of recording this.
And help us figure this out. Like, come on.
Yeah.
We have strangers trying to help us. Like, let's do this together.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
John Andrew Ramsey, us, Cotton Star, and that other person, and maybe like Kelly Jagan. Like, let's all just get together.
Yeah, that'd be a good diverse group.
Let's go to a Ponderosa, have a steak, talk about everything.
Steve Thomas and Lou Smith were, working together on the thing. They were going through models and shit together. Bantering back and forth. I also want to speak to an intruder did it person. If you're knowledgeable on the case, we'd love to have you on, and we want the discourse.
Yes.
Well, again, we're not saying you did it, John Andrew, but we got questions.
We got questions. You're not cleared. We want to clear you.
I want to play that song so bad.
Go ahead and play it, mommy.
Okay. So good.
All right, let's go because this is taking too long.
Yeah, it is.
And that entire jar of capers is gone now. I didn't even see you eat it.
No, you didn't?
He slides it down his gullet real fast.
Oh,
like a
shots?
shot. Like a shot.
It was good.
Disgusting.
I
Okay.
think it was while those dogs were fucking each other.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, hey, I'm Bobby Pavlovsky.
I'm Teddy Ronald Reagan. This is Maggie here.
And this is
JonBenet today.